The morning began like any other. Golden sunlight filtered through the tall trees, and the forest was alive with sound. Birds singing, monkeys chattering, and the gentle whisper of the wind through the leaves. It was a world full of life, peace, and rhythm. But peace can be fragile. It started with a spark, a single careless flash of lightning that struck a dry tree on the eastern ridge. Within minutes, smoke began to rise, carried swiftly by the wind. The smell of burning leaves filled the air, and soon the forest erupted into chaos. The fire spread faster than anyone could imagine. Trees that had sheltered generations were now engulfed in orange and red fury. Animals fled in terror. Elephants trumpeted, deer leapt through the underbrush, and birds screeched as they soared away from the flames. Yet amid the panic, one small creature moved toward the danger. It was a tiny hummingbird, no larger than a leaf. Its wings beat so fast they made a faint hum as it zipped through the smoky air. It flew straight to the river, dipped its beak into the cool water, and rushed back toward the inferno. A few drops, that was all it could carry. Still, the hummingbird flew to the edge of the flames and let the drops fall, sizzling into the fire before vanishing. Then it turned around and went back to the river again. And again. From a distance, an old lion watched. His mane was gray, his eyes deep with the wisdom of age. He stood on a rock, gazing at the destruction and shaking his head in sorrow. When he saw the hummingbird darting back and forth, he frowned. "What are you doing, little one?" the lion roared, his voice echoing through the smoke. The hummingbird didn't stop. It simply said, "I'm carrying water to the fire." The lion blinked. You're so small. Your beak can carry only a few drops. You can't stop this fire." The hummingbird hovered in the air for a moment, looking up at the mighty lion. "You're right," it said quietly. "I can't stop it alone, but I'm doing what I can." The lion was silent. Around him, other animals had gathered. Elephants, zebras, monkeys, deer, all watching the tiny bird struggle. Some laughed, some shook their heads. "It's useless," said a monkey. "One drop against a mountain of fire." "It's foolish," muttered a boar. "We should just run." But the hummingbird kept going. Its wings never stopped. Its courage never wavered. Again and again it flew from river to flame, from water to fire. And slowly, very slowly, something changed. The lion felt a strange stirring in his chest. "If that tiny bird can try," he murmured, "then what excuse do I have?" He turned to the elephants. "Brothers, we have trunks that can hold gallons of water. Why do we stand here doing nothing?" The elephants exchanged glances, and one of them nodded. "He's right." They stomped toward the river, sucked up great sprays of water, and began to march toward the fire. The monkeys followed, forming chains to pass buckets of wet leaves. The deer soaked their fur in the river and dashed into the smoky edges to stamp out smaller fires. Even the birds began to flap their wings, fanning away the smoke and carrying tiny bits of water themselves. For the first time since the fire began, the forest worked as one. The flames still raged, but now there was resistance, hope, unity, and effort. The animals' combined strength began to tame the fire's fury. Each drop, each splash, each effort mattered. Hours passed. The sun vanished behind a haze of gray clouds, and rain, blessed, cooling rain, finally began to fall. It was as though the sky itself had been watching and decided to help those who refused to give up. By sunset, the fire had been defeated. The forest was scarred but alive. The air was thick with the smell of ash and new rain. The animals stood in silence, staring at what they had saved, their home. And in the middle of that silence, the little hummingbird landed on a burnt branch. Its feathers were wet and singed, but its eyes shone with quiet pride. The old lion approached and bowed his great head. "Little one," he said, "you could not have done it alone, but because you tried, you showed us that we could." The hummingbird smiled faintly. "Sometimes," it said, "all it takes is one heart to begin the change." The lion nodded. "And that heart was yours." That night, as the moon rose over the forest, the animals gathered in a circle. The lion declared that from that day onward, every creature, no matter how small, would be honored for the courage to try, because effort, not size, was what saved the forest. And though new trees would grow and generations would pass, the story of the little hummingbird was told over and over again, to remind everyone that no act of courage is ever too small, no drop of effort ever wasted.